Hi, I'm Mike Kalish, the Social Security lawyer, and in this short video I want to talk about step one of the five-step sequential evaluation process, what I've titled, Are You Working? Social Security, when they make a determination as to whether or not somebody meets their definition of what it means to be disabled, is the way they do this is they use something called what they call the five-step sequential evaluation. The best way for me to describe this to give you an idea of what they're talking about is I say it's the 5 questions that you need to answer to determine whether or not somebody meets the definition of disability, as Social Security defines that word. And let me digress for a moment here, because a lot of times I have folks who come in and they're very upset because they've got very serious medical conditions. And maybe they've even been found disabled by other government entities, for example, the Veterans Administration or state disability folks, or maybe even by a private disability insurance carrier. And yet, when they went in and applied for their Social Security disability benefits, Social Security said no, they weren't disabled. So what's going on here? Social Security has a very, very narrow and a very particular and a very exact definition of what they mean when they talk about disability or being disabled. All right. The VA has a different definition of what it means to be disabled. The state of California, if you're applying for short-term disability benefits in the state of California, they use a different, yet another type of, another definition of what it means to be disabled. And sometimes these definitions overlap with what Social Security means. Sometimes they don't. So for example, the VA has percentages of disability, right? So an individual might have a 50% disability award or assessment. They might have 100% service-connected disability. They might have a 10% non-service disability determination from the VA. So all of that's good in the world of the VA, but Social Security, with Social Security, it's either you are disabled or you are not disabled. They don't have this ranking of percentages the way the VA does, all right? So to understand the definition, or to understand how Social Security determines whether somebody is disabled, they use this 5-step sequential evaluation process. And as I said at the beginning, this is essentially, the easiest way for me to convey this is it's essentially 5 questions. You have to answer 5 questions. And depending upon the answer of all 5 questions determines whether or not an individual meets the definition of disability for purposes of Social Security. So, first question is, are you working? All right, now that is a gross oversimplification. It's a lot more nuanced than that, but it's the basic concept. Social Security wants to know, are you working? It's the first thing they're going to ask. And if an individual is engaged in work and full-time work the way Social Security defines that, and I'll go over that in just a moment, then it doesn't matter how bad the medical conditions are. It doesn't matter how many volumes of medical records you have. It doesn't matter, because as long as you're holding down some kind of full-time work, you are not disabled for purposes of Social Security disability. All right, now, Social Security doesn't use those terms that I just used. Are you working? Okay, or are you working? They don't use full-time, part-time work. What Social Security uses is they have a term for this, and the term that they use is substantial gainful activity. Is the claimant, are you engaged in substantial gainful activity? What the heck does that mean? I don't know. All right, so let's break it down a little bit. And I'm going to start with the last word and we'll work our way backwards. So the first is substantial gainful activity. So let's talk about activity first. What does it mean? What does activity mean? Activity is you have to be doing something to earn compensation. All right, so you have to be going to an office and sitting down and working at a desk. You have to show up at a work site, a construction work site, and be doing something. You have to do something. You have to be doing something to earn the money. That's what activity means, right? So, and this can be clarified a little bit. Is it if you are receiving money but you weren't doing anything, you weren't engaged in any kind of activity, and you were receiving money, well, Social Security wouldn't consider that as SGA. So, for example, what kind of situation would that be? Where, let's say somebody has a pension, and each month you get a pension check. Well, you're not doing anything. There's no activity that you have to engage in to get that check. So that pension check that you get is not going to be considered SGA because there's no activity. You're not doing anything. For it to be SGA, you have to be engaged in some kind of activity. All right. The second word, substantial gainful activity. It has to be gainful. Now, what we mean by gainful is you have to be compensated for the activity. So most people, 99.9% of the time, people get compensated by being paid money. That's how most people get it. So if you're getting paid money to do the activity, then that's going to fall within that definition of substantial gainful activity. There are situations where somebody may not be being paid money. So for example, maybe somebody is acting as a resident manager of an apartment building. And in return for being the resident manager, the owner of the building says, well, I'm not going to pay you a salary, but I will allow you, you can live in one of the units. You know, I'm not going to charge you rent for it. My providing you the unit to live in, rent-free is your compensation for working as the resident manager and being on call. So that would be considered gainful because you're gaining something. All right, it's not money, but you are gaining something. But for most people, 99% of the folks out there, it's an activity for which they're going to get a paycheck. They're getting paid some money to do it. The last, the first, but the last word that I'm going to address is substantial. So again, substantial gainful activity. So substantial, what does substantial mean? Substantial means that there's a certain level of gainful activity that you have to be engaged in, all right? And Social Security looks at this in a couple different ways. And the most common way they do it is they just look at how much money you're earning. And under their regulations, if your take-home check per month is over $1,180, that's the amount for 2018, then you are, by definition, engaged in SGA, all right? You're working. That's what they consider full-time work. It's not a lot of money. Okay, that's the first thing that's going to hit you. You say, wow, that's not even, how's that full-time work? It's barely $1,000 a month. Well, that's what Social Security has pegged for 2018 as being the limit. So if you're doing something and you're getting paid for it, and the amount that you're getting paid for is $1,180 per month or more gross, meaning before they take out your taxes. Okay, that's not after they take out the taxes. That's before they take out all the deductions. If you're making $1,180 a month or more, then you are, by definition, engaged in SGA and substantial gainful activity, and you are not eligible for disability benefits, right? Disability benefits the idea for disability benefits is they are benefits to compensate an individual who is unable to work, or in Social Security speak, unable to engage in SGA, substantial gainful activity. So the first question is, are you working? And by working, we mean, are you doing something? Are you getting paid to do that something? And is the amount that you're getting paid over $1,180 per month? There's another way that they look at whether or not the work is substantial. I said there was a couple of ways that they do this. The other way they look at it is they look and see, how many hours a month are you working, okay? And if it's kind of vague, but generally the number I use is about 20 hours. So if you're working over 20 hours per week, and if you're working over 20 hours a week, you're probably making more than $1,180 per month gross. Then yeah, you're going to be engaged in SGA. It doesn't matter if you have all kinds of medical conditions. It doesn't matter. You're earning money. You're over the SGA limit. So the answer to question number one for somebody in that situation is no, they are not disabled. And that's where the analysis stops for them. If the answer is no, I'm not working, I'm not earning $1,180 a month, and then we go to question number two. All right, and we'll address that in the next video. So to recap, the first question is, are you working? By working, we mean, are you engaged in what Social Security refers to as SGA, substantial gainful activity? That means you have to be doing something Are you doing something? Are you being paid for that something that you're doing? And is the amount that you're being paid more than, is either at or above $1,180 per month gross? That's it. That's the question. I know it's convoluted. It's difficult, but that's their definition. I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to shoot me an email. There's an email link. You can do that on my website at www.thesocialsecuritylawyer.org. You're welcome to give me a call. Phone number 714-548-3292. Again, 714-548-3292. And take a look at the website too. I have a written explanation of all these things on the website also. So thank you for your time. I hope that was informative, and wish you all the best.